Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Law of Attraction 2.0, Widening the Lens on the Law of Attraction. If you're enjoying Kris's unparalleled metaphysical content, then please hit the like button, subscribe, press the bell icon so that you get notified when we release cool, new metaphysical content. It's really the only way that the YouTube algorithm will notice Kris's work. So if you want to help out the channel, press the like button, hit subscribe, and let's jump into the content. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Law of Attraction 2.0. And we're going to be building on our discussion of last episode. We began to talk about probabilities as well as worry and how it really doesn't solve anything. And a little bit about perhaps how to get beyond that. And I think Kris is already here with us. And so we're going to begin the process of building on that. So welcome to the episode.
Indeed. As mentioned previously, and as you also mentioned, Myrna, worry seems entirely validating because it appears or gives the appearance that you do have some sort of control, yes, even if it is driving you insane, depriving you of sleep, hunger, and food, and everything else. Oh, yes, I have control of my situation because I worry. And all you do is become not just a worry hog, but a worry ogre. You eat worry all the time. There are many, many different ways to change the frame of mind. There is EFT, there's the tapping we show. There are so many different tools. One of the best, most soothing for those who can go is to walk amongst nature, even in a park where there are trees. Look up into the clouds, look up into the sky, look at the treetops, look at the trees, left and right and up and down. Look, and that will change your mindset. Breathe the air, especially if you are in a park or a forest where the air is fresher. Breathe it in. Enjoy the environment. It is not just the energy, the ozone, the beauty, the peace, but just going from left to right, up and down, moving your eyes around, and then enjoying the serenity has a tremendous impact. That is where the science of binaural beats comes from. And it has been modified and enhanced. But if you just function into the natural environment for a little while, maybe only 10, 15 minutes or so, you will begin to see that your mood suddenly is no longer what it was. Your whole mind has changed. The premise of it has changed. You are in a larger environment. You are not constrained by what you used to worry about. And then drop the issue. The issue, not the shoe. Just drop it. And enjoy your newfound peace. Cultivate it. It will have a very, very powerful impact. And of course, if you're in a northern climate, and if you can dress warmly enough, go for a walk in the wintertime. Look at the snow piled up everywhere, on the trees, on the branches of the boughs of the fir trees, on the rooftops. Smell the air, the crisp, clean, sometimes cold and freezing air, but it will have the same impact. If, of course, you happen to be by the ocean, then by all means, indulge. Whatever it is that you do, do it with peacefulness in your mind and cultivate the changed mindset. It will have an deep impact. And that way, whilst you are not worrying, other parts of your subconscious mind will get the answers one form or another. But do not insist, okay, you have to have this now. It is 4:30 p.m. By 4:35, you have to have the answers to me. It does not function that way. It might just show up at 4:36. But just enjoy being. That in and of itself is so important. You forget to be, you start to worry, you start to hassle yourselves. That is not being, that is non-being. Because you are cultivating an atmosphere of powerlessness, of insecurity, of fear. So by switching the game over, you have a very, very different empowerment at your disposal.
So may I try something then?
Indeed.
So I'm agitated and I'm thinking about something. And I'm focused, and having listened to you now, I know that everything is an idea. Everything that has created, started as an idea. So I'm focused on a particular idea labeled problem. Well, around that particular idea are dozens and dozens and dozens of other probabilities. Right now, I'm just focused on one probability that I've labeled problem. I got to worry about this. When I go into the Arboretum, or I do as you suggested, and I let go of that focus on that probability, it allows so many other probabilities around that idea to present themselves.
Indeed. To utilize another kind of metaphor, when you begin to worry overly on any particular issue, it is like throwing gasoline, gallons of it, and then lighting the match and throwing it into the gasoline pit, and then going, oh, why is this on fire? Why is my whole inner house burning down? Oh, yes, because I threw gasoline and lit it up. So by moving your mind away from that, all of the resolutions to the challenge are suddenly able to find their way in through the blockade you used to put up.
Yeah.
Because when you worry, that is what you do. You blockade yourself. Answers cannot come in and you cannot get out.
Yes.
So you are trapped in a prison of your own making.
I know over the years and reading a lot of the metaphysical work, I always knew intellectually that if I let go of resistance, something was going to happen. Well, now I understand resistance means I'm focused on that probability only, to the exclusion of so many others. So it's just been so edifying to know that it's all about probabilities. And I've been laser focused on only one. And I haven't allowed myself to get help from my deeper self or my other many minds or whatever. All of that's available, but I'm focused on that one probability.
Indeed. In fact, we can even add that the self that was focused on the one challenge may have tried to occupy the mind. It is an occupation, if you like. Once you remove the energy, that self has to make room for another version of you, another self that can actually open the doors and have access to all of the various solutions to the various challenges that the whole self has before itself. So you change. It is not just the mindset, it is not just a situation, it is you that changes. You are letting go of that overtired self who, like a tired child, screams because it is too tired to know it is tired and needs to sleep. So you will fight and resist against going to sleep. Does that bring any images to the mind? Since you are both parents.
Yes.
Yeah, Kris, the one thing I was thinking about too is it seems like the root of all worry is a lack of confidence that we can create what we want. It seems like
Indeed.
that's always really, we think I can't do it. So I worry, I can't.
Indeed. Because you think that you are just a one poor little self.
Mm-hmm.
And if you allow yourself to slip up and not worry, something will happen to you without realizing that you are many selves in one. So it is an kind of identity crisis. If you look at it this way,
yeah,
you may find it very illuminating.
so I would like to, Dan, I'd like to peg perhaps for our next session a topic which we won't cover here right now. Is about the aspects of self. That has been also very illuminating. All of these aspects that we carry, and in this waiting for the shoe to drop is an aspect I've carried for many, many, many years, not realizing I got a lot of other aspects that
Indeed,
are
it
available.
is like wearing an old shirt, even though it is full of holes, the seams are ripping, but you think, well, I've worn this shirt for so long. It feels comforting. Even though it no longer functions as a shirt, it's full of holes. But in your mind, it is a shirt. So, in that way, you can bring forth different versions of yourself. So, going through the forest, for example, walking in nature, doing as we suggested, relaxes you enough so that you can allow another aspect or persona to come to the surface. You are preventing an identity crisis because you are expanding your identity. You are not restricting.
Mm-hmm.
The root assumptions are about identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Now, do you wish to continue, Daniel or Myrna?
I have enough for now. For me, personally, this is very good. I would like to talk
This
about
particular discussion has been fairly deep because now you are looking at the roots of identity.
yes.
And of course, when the roots of identity are constrained by too many counterproductive cages, then the whole self has to try and find a way to break free from that cage.
Yes.
So, what about you, Daniel? Any final parting words of wisdom?
Well, yeah, I'm still just fascinated by this idea of, you know, the other thing that was coming to mind was like trusting that our inner self can deliver. And I think that's what you were getting at with that. If that's our, our identity as a spirit soul, that, and having knowledge that we're connected to that and intimately, or even are that at some level, and sort of having that knowledge, then if you become adept at that enough, then there's just no need to worry. You know that you can change that particular situation, whatever it may be. And I think if you rehearse it, at least in my experience, if I've rehearsed it enough times, then it can begin to just sort of, it could become a program, that could become the programming rather than the worry.
Yeah.
And that is the exact point, is to put it into effect sufficiently so that it becomes the fall to program. It defaults to that program, not to the old limiting version of self. Now, of course, you have to contend to one degree or another with the ideas you grew up with in a world that still frowns upon utilizing your feelings, emotions, your imagination, your intuition, which is still often considered a dirty word, preferring instead to focus upon the intellect, rational, logical mind, the ego, and do understand we are not dissing any of that. We're not throwing it away. We're simply saying that because your societies have divorced, have bifurcated the mind in this way, you are left trying to hold some of the pieces and trying to reassemble them without necessarily having any kind of proper guide. Imagine you are a medical doctor. If you had to, you could reassemble a human body. But imagine a poor, say, farmer who has done nothing but plow the fields his whole life, finding a badly injured body, knowing that there is still life, perhaps putting it together again, and puts the long down one leg and an ear on the side of the nose, and so on and so forth, because he just does not know. So you are left, in a manner of speaking, not knowing how to put this together, but you don't have to. You can begin to use the notion or concept that try it 5 minutes. I will try to be safe in my intuition, in my imagination, my feelings and emotions for 5 minutes. Oh, I survived. Perhaps next time I can try for 10 minutes. And then again, perhaps 15 minutes. Just incrementally adapt to your larger version of self, one that is able to amalgamate and create collaboration with all parts of the self, and then some. Because you're not just made up of logical, rational, intellectual, ego, emotion, feelings, imagination, and so on. There is a lot more. But that is all you can deal with at this particular point in time. But there is a lot more to you than just that. But you are not even ready yet to accept wholeheartedly that those more intuitive portions of the self, perhaps they're not quite trustworthy yet. So, of course, a even larger framework is not quite going to be that appealing to you. But we do encourage you to delve deeper into your other side of self.
Well, that's one of my observations, Kris, too. In particular, perhaps even being in very intense states of worry, maybe even of panic, I've noticed that there's an almost complete reliance on the rational, logical mind and that even that seems to be warped to some degree in that particular state. And to boot, there seems to be a disconnect from the intuitions, the feelings, the emotions, and identifying those as part of myself. There's just this sort of really out of control, sort of logical, rational sequence that's discombobulated.
Indeed.
But yeah, there's this definite disconnect between the other aspects of identity and self, for sure.
And that is correct. You only begin to feel whole when there is a better order of collaboration with the whole idea of self. Right now, you might feel incomplete in a certain way, but only because of the psychological restrictions that you have put on the self. Whilst in truth, there are none. There are no such restrictions, divisions. They are all arbitrarily agreed upon within the terms of consensus reality. Read the fine print. The point is that this is not a binding contract. It is simply an agreement. You can change the terms. You can say, as of this day, I will respect and honor my intuitions, my feelings, my emotions, and more. But I will not only rely upon the ego, intellect, and rational logical mind, but I will seek to blend them together. So it is not one at the expense of the other. Some people and schools of thought do believe that if you move into the intuitive field, you must at all cost drown your ego, your intellect, your rational mind. You must, in effect, disown them. And that will never, ever work. Not short term, not long term. Because you are holistic being. You are a whole being. All of these things are parts of what you are. So looking at it this way gives you a much broader perspective from which to function.
If I can take that back to worry, I am able now, the moment I can feel myself starting to get into that hamster wheel, I get in my car and I drive up to the Arboretum and I start to walk amongst the trees, which I, as you know, I've been doing for years now. That is where my magical realm kicks in, the magical aspects of me, my intuitions, my impulses. I let the trees and the grasses just wash away sort of that, the logical rational, because it was so used to operating there. And I'm finding myself now allowing it with those trees to move into the magical realm, the emotions, my impulses.
Indeed.
I love my impulses. Yes.
The perhaps best approach is an embracing approach, to embrace the whole self, not just to concentrate on some of it, but all of it. It takes balance. It is a balancing act because you are so unaccustomed to that. You might still feel that at any time, the ground of your being is just going to fall. You will be swallowed because you did not hold on to your old convictions. But your old convictions are not all of what you are. You are also filled with all sorts of new convictions, new assumptions, but you compartmentalize them. That is what your species does so very nicely. That is what your sciences do. But your sciences help you explore the physicality of life, not the spirituality or the metaphysicality of life. Now, this is not meant to put any of your sciences down, but to say that there is more to your life than just that. And with that, we wish all of you to experience more of you than you have ever thought possible. And we thank you for your consideration and return Joseph to you.
Thank you, Kris.
Thanks, Kris. Thanks for watching, and if you would like to leave a question for Kris, drop it in the comments below. Myself, Serge, or someone from the Kris team will be checking and may use them to drive the discussion, put them in future episodes. So if you'd like to interact with the Kris community, feel free. Put your questions below, and we'd love to hear from you, and see you again next time.